All right, here we go. Stargirl Chapter 20. Are you ready? Let's get started. Twice a week, the results of the state basketball tournament were posted on the plywood roadrunner in the courtyard. The surviving teams were into sectionals now. And then would come regionals, and then, with only 2 teams left, the big show, the Arizona State Championship. Glendale, the team we had lost to, got bitter, masochistic attention on the Roadrunner with scores in foot-high numerals as they continued to win and move through the tournament. Meanwhile, Stargirl was involved in a tournament of her own, the oratorical contest. As Micah High's winner, she qualified for the district talk-off, as the Times called it. It took place in the auditorium at the Red Rock High School. And lo and behold, Stargirl won that too. Next stop was the state finals in Phoenix on the 3rd Friday in April. In my homeroom, when the announcement came over the PA about Stargirl winning the state district title, I was about to let out a cheer, but I caught myself. Several people booed. Getting ready for the finals, Stargirl practiced on me. Most often we went into the desert. She did not use notes, nor did her words seem to be memorized. Each time she gave the new speech, it was different. She seemed to insert new material as it popped into her head. She matched her words so perfectly that the speech was not a speech at all, but one creature's voice in the wild, as natural as the raven's call or a coyote's howl at midnight. I sat cross-legged on the ground. Cinnamon sat on me. We listened in rapture, and so, I half believe, did the tumbleweed and the cacti, the desert, the mountains, all listening to the girl in the long falling skirt. What a shame, I thought, to pack her performance into a schedule and present it to rows of plushback seats in an auditorium. Once, incredibly, an elf owl landed atop a saguaro not 10 feet from where she was speaking. It paused for a full minute before ducking into its hole. Of course, we did other things too. We walked, we talked, we rode bikes. Then I thought I had my driver's license, I bought a cheap second-hand bicycle so I could ride with her. Sometimes she led the way, sometimes I did. Wherever we could, we rode side by side. She was bendable light. She shone around every corner of my day. She taught me to revel. She taught me to wonder. She taught me to laugh. My sense of humor had always measured up to someone else's, but timid, introverted me, I showed it sparingly. I was a smiler. In her presence, I threw back my head and laughed out loud for the first time in my life. She saw things. I'd not known there was so much to see. She was forever tugging on my arm, saying, "Look!" I would look around, seeing nothing. "Where?" She would point. "There!" In the beginning, I still could not see. She might be pointing to a doorway, or a person, or the sky. But such things were so common to my eyes, so undistinguished, that they would register as nothing. I walked away in a gray world of nothings. So she would stop and point at the front door of a house that was passing that was blue. And the last time we had passed it had been green. And that was near as she could tell. Someone who lived in that house painted the front door a different color several times a year. Or she would whisper to me that the old man sitting alone on the bench at the Tudor Village shopping center was holding his hearing aid in his hand, and he was smiling, and he wore a coat and tie as if he were going somewhere special, and pinned to his lapel was a tiny American flag. Or she would keel down and pull me down with her and show me the ants, 2 of them lugging the lopped leg of a beetle 20 times their size across the sidewalk. As might 2 men, they were strong ants carry a fully grown tree from one end to the other. After a while, I began to see better. When she said, "Look!" and I followed her pointing finger, I saw. Eventually it had become a contest. Who could see first? When I finally did it and said, "Look!" and pointed and tugged her sleeve, I was as proud as a first grader with a star on his paper. And then there was more to her seeing than that. What she saw, what she felt. Her eyes went straight to her heart. The old man on the bench, for example, made her cry. The lumberjack ants made her laugh. The door of many colors put her in such a snit of curiosity, but I had to drag her away. She felt she could not proceed with her life until she knocked on the door. She told me how she would run the Micah Times if she were the editor. Crime would be on page 10. Ants and old man and doors on page 1. She made up the headlines. Ants haul monster load across vast barren walk. Mystery smile. Old man nods off at Tudor Village. Door eggs. Knock me. Door begs. Not me. Not eggs. That would be weird. If you egg a door, that would be really bad, especially a brand new painted door. Anyway, I digress. I told her I wanted to be a TV director. She said she wanted to be a silver lunch truck driver. Huh? I said. You know, she said. People work all morning and then it's 12 o'clock. The secretaries in the offices walk out the door. The construction workers put on their hard hats and hammers and everyone's hungry. And then they look up and there I am. No matter where they are, no matter where they work, I'm there. I have a whole fleet of silver lunch trucks. They go everywhere. Let lunch come to you. That's my slogan. Just seeing my silver lunch truck makes them happy. She described how she would roll down the side of her panels and everyone would practically faint at the cloud of wonderful smells. Hot food, cold food, Chinese, Italian, you name it. Even a salad bar. They can't believe how much food I fit into my truck. No matter where you are, out in the desert, the mountains, even down in the mines, if you want my silver lunch service, I get it to you. I find a way. I tagged along on missions. One day she brought a small plant, an African violet in a plastic pot on sale for 99 cents at the drugstore. Who's it for? I asked her. I'm not really sure, she said. I just know that someone at an address on Marion Drive is in the hospital for surgery. So I thought whoever's back home could use a little cheering up. How do you know this stuff? I said. She gave me a mischievous grin. I have my ways. We went to the house on Marion Drive. She reached into the saddle pack to pull behind her bicycle seat. She pulled out a handful of ribbons. She chose a pale violet one that matched the color of the tiny blossoms and stuffed the remaining of the ribbons back into the seat pack. She tied the violet ribbon around the pot. I held her bike while she set the plant by the front door. Riding away, I said, "Why don't you leave a card or something with your name on it?" The question surprised her. Why should I? Her question surprised me. Well, I don't know. It's just the way people do things. They expect it. They get a gift. They expect to know where it came from. Is that important? Yeah, I guess. I never finished that thought. My tires shuddered as I slammed my bike into a halt. She stopped ahead of me. She backed up. She stared. Leo, what is it? I wagged my head. I grinned. I pointed to her. It was you! Me what? 2 years ago, my birthday! I found a package on my front step. A porcupine necktie. I never found out who gave it to me. She walked her bike alongside me. She grinned. A mystery? Where'd you find it? I said. I didn't. I had my mother make it. She didn't seem to want to dwell on the subject. She started pedaling as we continued on our way. Where were we? She said. Getting credit, I said. What about it? Well, it's nice to get the credit. The spokes of her wheel spun behind a curtain of her long skirt. She looked at like a photograph from 100 years ago. She turned, her eyes wide on me. "Is it?" she said. So that begs a question here. When you do something nice for somebody, do you want to get the credit? I'll have to admit, when I vacuum at home and maybe it's a surprise to my wife and she comes home and doesn't say a thing, I am very tempted to say, "Honey, look what I did. I vacuumed the house," Do you guys do the same thing? Do you want to get credit for little things that you do? Or does it matter? Does getting credit matter? Sometimes it's kind of fun when I know somebody that does something nice for me, and I don't even know who it is. Maybe a student, I've actually had this many times before, a student might write me an anonymous note, and say, "Hey, I think you're a great teacher, Mr. Daniels. Keep doing your awesome stuff," and leave it on my desk, and it's signed anonymous. I know, yeah, it makes me curious, but it's cool that kid doesn't want to get the credit. How do you feel? Do you like getting credit for your good deeds that you do? Or do you think it's more beneficial to kind of do a random act of kindness without being known? Talk about that with your groups or your class. Thank you so much for listening to Chapter 20. We are on to Chapter 21. Stargirl's starting to get good. Talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye, and God bless.